Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Let's get going. I'm doing these little news clippings. I kind of look into the information first to make sure it's somewhat legit. Sort of my own little research of it, so I know I'm not doing something, say, reporting on something or talking about something that isn't somewhat legit. So facts and stuff. You can look up the rest of the facts and everything yourself, do your own research. This is my own opinion, my own take, my own view. I also share my what I think as I read it. And I like to read the clip. I know I could probably just do like write down like a summary and then just show you this picture and just talk for a couple minutes. It'd probably be like quicker, but I know not many people are watching this stuff, but this is the latest real stuff that I could find. It's on AP. It says Union Pacific and Norfolk seek first transcontinental railroad through a massive merger. And that will only lead. See, right now there's only 4 major companies for the railroad. And they merge, then there will only be 2 left, and they'll be pressured to merge probably into 1. So there'll be a total of 2 left if it goes those directions. You can read this. This is about a month or so old. That's the best one I could find. Oh my, Neb. Union Pacific wants to buy Norfolk Southern in a $85 billion deal that would create the first transcontinental railroad in the U.S., potentially triggering a final wave of rail mergers across the country. The proposed merger announced would marry Union Pacific's vast rail network in the West with Norfolk's rails that snake across the eastern United States. The combined railroad would include more than 50,000 miles of tracks in 43 states with connections to major ports on both coasts. The nation's first linked by rail in 1869 when a golden railroad spike was driven in Utah to symbolize the connection of east and west coasts. Yet no single entity has controlled that coast-to-coast passage. The railroads argue a merger would streamline deliveries of raw materials and goods nationwide by eliminating delays when shipments are handed off between railroads. The AP, this is where I'm getting this news clipping. AP first reported the merger talks earlier this month, a week before the railroads confirmed the discussion last week. Any deal would be closely scrutinized by antitrust regulators that have set a very high bar for railroad deals after previous consultation in the industry led to massive backups and snarled traffic. And you can click on these if you like. We'll keep going. But Union Pacific CEO Jim Vena, who would lead the combined company, said the expanded railroad will more seamlessly get lumber from the Pacific Northwest, plastics from the Gulf, and steel from the Pittsburgh to their destinations. And he promised to avoid past merger mistakes. It's great for America, Vena said. We're going to be able to move products quicker, faster, more efficiently, better service, better for our customers, and that we are going to be able to give them a product that allows them to win in the marketplace. Now, they did some reports interviewing people that actually know what they're talking about, that are actually employees. They said it's not going to do any good. When they merged everything together, it makes things worse. They've been cutting jobs all across the railroad services. Workers or employees have been let go, fired, or buyouts or whatever. And it takes longer for them to do maintenance on the tracks. And of course, the derails have increased over the years. Okay, let's keep going. And also said by November 14th, let's decide whether to make the deal or not. It's not saying it on here, but as my research tells me, by November 14th, which was on its way. Remember, a lot of bad stuff's going to happen from here on out to 2027, 2028. That's around when the president gets out of office, 2028, 2029. All right, let's keep going. Rail deal would have broad impact if the deal is approved to remain in major American railroads. BNSF and CSX will face competitive pressure to merge as well. The continent's two other major railroads, Canadian and National, and CPKC, may also get involved. The Canadian rails span all of that nation and across parts of America. CPKC rails stretch south into Mexico. Some of the benefits of the deal should trickle down to consumers if the railroads are able to streamline shipments, because that will help keep costs down, said Edward Jones and analyst Jeff Window. But he said there is that potential that there's going to be some service disruptions. The American Chemistry Council said the major chemical makers it represents have serious concerns that the deal could reduce rail competition. But other shippers like Amazon and UPS may see benefits of potentially faster and more reliable delivery. They along with unions and affected communities will have a chance to weigh in before the U.S. Surface Transportation Board. Now, they mentioned Amazon and UPS. Well, those are some major players. UPS has actually been reducing things and going electronic and robots and AI. Amazon as well. If you watched that video I put up talking about the major players that or the corporate greedy people, billionaires and stuff, they're basically selling or buying out everybody in the United States, and they're making things worse for everybody because everything's going to become automated. So it's going to get real bad for all us poor people and middle class. The nation's largest rail union, Smart TD, quickly opposed the merger over concerns of jeopardizing progress that Norfolk Southern has made in safety and labor relations since its disastrous 2023 derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. The union said that the Union Pacific record is troubling on safety and treatment of workers. The smaller transport workers union echoes that those concerns, saying the deal would deliver billions for Wall Street while workers get shafted. Exactly what I was saying, people. Several other major rail unions said they are also concerned, but want to meet with management first before weighing in on the deal. They're going to go through it, just like the data centers. People might have a meeting where they argue or something, but they've already made the deal in the back behind closed doors. So those little argument debates don't really matter. If they get, they go through with it, whether people are aware of it or not. Railroads optimistic about changes for approval. There's speculation that this deal might win approval under President Trump pro-business administration, but the SDB is currently evenly split between the two Republicans and two Democrats. The board is led by a Republican, and Trump will appoint a fifth member before this deal will be considered. Norfolk Southern CEO Mark George said the stars are aligned right now for this deal with railroads that have a lot of connections and an ongoing expansion of domestic manufacturing. Then on top of that, you've got a political situation where the administration and the STB have both changed to maybe be a little more open-minded combination that helped the countries grow, he said. The CFRA research analyst Emily and Nassif Mitch think the odds favor approval, though the deal will face intense scrutiny. Like the billionaires care, people argue. Union Pacific is offering $20 billion cash and one share of its stock to complete the deal. Norfolk Southern shareholders would receive one UP share and 88.82 in cash for each one of their shares as part of the deal that values NS at roughly $320 per share. Norfolk Southern closed at just over $260 a share earlier this month before the first reports emerged speculating about the deal that includes a $2.5 billion breakup fee. Shares of both railroads fell more than 2% Tuesday. This is like a month ago, and you can read the rest of that. More consolidation could follow. U.S. railroads have already undergone extensive consolidation since the industry was deregulated. There were more than 30 major freight railroads in the early 1880s. Today, it said 30 back then in 1980. Today, there are only 6 major or Class 1 railroads. So that ain't good. So in other words, these merger, there'll be 2-1, and if the other two merger, it'll be 2-1, and if the other two merger, maybe 2-1. See where we're going with this? They're reducing it and reducing it and reducing it. Buffett downplayed reports that he had enlisted Goldman Sachs to advise him on a potential rail deal, but he rarely used investment bankers anyway. Buffett reached an agreement to buy the parts of the BNSF Railroad he didn't already own for $26.3 billion in a meeting with the CEO more than 15 years ago. BMO Capital Market thought he said in a research note that it's likely a second transcontinental railroad merger will follow this announcement because it would be risky to remain independent and try to compete. Now, when they merger and stuff, this is my opinion here, when they merger, for the farmers or certain places that have automatic railroads hooked into their business, where they pick up their products to ship through the railroad, well, they're not going to be able to use semi-trucks, and so they're stuck. Whatever the railroad charges for the shipping, they have no choice but to pay it because they've already set the railroad up to go through there and pick up the wheat, whatever the stuff is, and chemicals and all that, because the railroad can ship that heavy weight better than trucks. So they ain't got a choice. Whatever the price is, they're going to have to continue with it. So railroad can basically increase the price, and they have the price of the shipping, and have no choice but to pay it. And they can't use trucks. So that's what I found out about that. History of problems after past rail mergers, yet there's widespread debate over whether a major rail merger would be approved by the U.S. regulators. But according to what everything said, they've already approved it. They just got to decide for what price, which have established a high bar for consolidation and crucial rail industry. That's largely due to the aftermath of industry consolidation nearly 30 years ago. A merger between Union Pacific and Southern Pacific in 1996 led to an extended period of snarled traffic on the U.S. rails. 3 years later, Conrail was divided up by Norfolk Southern and CSX, creating serious backups in the East. We're committed to making sure that doesn't happen in this case. George said. He added that the railroads will spend the next 2 years planning for a smooth integration before this deal might get approved. U.S. Senators Tammy Baldwin, Roger Marshall promptly sent a letter urging the STB to examine the merger closely because they are concerned that a merger of this magnitude would diminish options for industry to transport goods, increase costs, create more unreliable service for U.S. shippers, and reduce overall competition. I just talked about that. But CPKC mergers was approved 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the STB approved the first major rail merger in more than 2 decades, allowing Canadian Pacific to acquire Kansas City Southern for $31 billion to create the CPKC Railroad. There were compelling factors in that deal. However, for one, it was the 2 smallest major freight railroads. The new railroad regulators reasoned would benefit trade across North America. Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern said they hope to get approval for the deal by early 2027. They expect to eliminate $1 billion in costs annually. And Venus said no union members should lose their jobs, but the workforce could still shrink through attrition. Revenue is also expected to jump. Of course, this was a month ago. Norfolk Southern reported $768 million second quarter profits as the volume grew 3% up from $737 million a year ago. Results were affected by insurance payments, East Palestine derailment, and restructuring. Without the one-time factor, Norfolk Southern made $3.29 per share, just shy of $3.31 that Wall Street expected. All right, everybody, that's my take on this, my view, my comments, or my opinion. So basically, the prices will go higher if they wanted to, just like the food, just like the utilities with the data centers. Amazon, there's all of the major greedy corporations are involved in all this. And they make deals in the Congress, they make deals with the president. Basically, they buy them out or they blackmail each other. And then they vote in their favor, and then it happens. So if they want this to go through, chances are it will. And according to a lot of things, they've already basically decided to do it. They just have to cross some T's and dot some I's. And then everybody who relies on the railroad service, they can jack the prices up, which makes the food prices, the chemicals from all kinds of products go up, and everybody will have to pay even more at the store. And according to the employees that deals with these railroad stuff that they're in working at the railroads, that's the railroad jobs and stuff. In their opinion, their take, their experience says, when was a merger ever better? And usually when they do a merger, they cut jobs. It's all about the corporate greed. They get their money at the top. CEOs get bonuses, all that, but making the deal, and all the workers suffer, and all of the people, well, that would be all of us, the consumers. We go to the store, say you can buy a bottle of shampoo for $3. It's now $7 or $8. Just giving you an idea of what will happen, folks. All right, thank you so much for watching and bearing with me. I appreciate it. This is my latest content. You can take it or you can leave it. You can skip through it. Like I always say, probably should have said that at the beginning of the video. But thank you so much for watching, and moving on to the next video.